Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I will unmute everybody first, and then we'll start the presentation. Participants, where are the participants? Okay, and then I want to mute on. Okay, you have any questions? Just unmute yourself, and then you can interrupt me. Okay, I will start the share screen. Okay, today we are on the second meeting for why Chinese civilizations has survived until now. Last time we have looked at the physical geography of China. Yes, in a way it is we can consider it as an island because we have deserts in the north, sea in the east, and in the southwest we have the Himalayas and the rainforest. So the interactions with outside civilization will be quite limited. But it doesn't mean that China hasn't been conquered by other ethnic groups. For example, during the Mongolian time when Mongolian sent their armies to the Europe, China is also conquered by the Mongolians, and this is our Yuan dynasty. Another example is during the Qing dynasty, the last dynasty before China becomes a republic. It is ruled by Manchurians, and again another minor ethnic groups. But still, with the impact of other cultures on China, somehow China's civilization still survive. So we cannot explain that simply by geography, because obviously the geography haven't stopped other minority groups to totally conquer China. So we have to look at other possibilities to explain this particular fact. So this is the second part. We are looking at the cultural and the political factors that make China's civilizations survive until now. Let's go back again in history and look at what happened about 700 to 400 before the Common Era. This is in China called the Spring and Autumn period. This particular period is characterized by a very significant political, social, and cultural change. Now, before the Spring and Autumn period, China is in the so-called the Zhao dynasty. The Zhao dynasty divided into the Western Zhao dynasty and the Eastern Zhao dynasty. These two dynasties is a typical feudal system. That means we have at the center of the political system an emperor or a king. He delegates the governing of the whole country into small kingdoms. Each kingdom has its own government system. Each of these kingdoms has its own army. And if the central emperor is attacked by somebody else, then these other kingdoms have the obligation to render help to the central emperor. That was the concept of the Zhao dynasty. So it is decentralized, and there's a lot of fragmentation. The central authority of the Zhao dynasty weakened, leading to the fragmentation of China into various states. each with its own ruler and power structure. This resulted in a decentralized political landscape and often led to conflict between various states. So these states can be considered as vassal states. So they are paying tribute to the central government. So this is a typical Freudian system. The political structure of the period was marked by the Freudian system, where regional lords and aristocrats held significant power and controlled their respective territories. The power of the central Zhao monarchy diminishes, and these regional rulers become more autonomous. As each state struggled to survive and struggled to become stronger, there are conflicts between these different states. So in between the two Zhao dynasties, the Eastern Zhao dynasty and the Western Zhao dynasty, in between that is what we call the Spring and Autumn period. In this period, there is a lot of warfare and military conflicts. The states engage in frequent warfare and power struggles as they compete for resources, territory, and dominance. This period saw the emergence of new military strategies and tactics, which laid the groundwork for future developments in Chinese warfare. The very famous Sun Tzu, the book which is considered the most important military strategic thinking, is developed during this period. And also at this time, a lot of philosophical and intellectual development also flourished. The Spring and Autumn period was a time of intense intellectual activity and flourishing of various philosophical schools. Of course, we have the notable is the Confucianism, Taoism, legalism, and other philosophical systems emerged during this time, each offering distinct perspectives on how to address the challenges of the time. The main challenge at that time can be divided into two parts, as this slide shows. One part is the military strategies. So there's a lot of different military strategies coming out. And together with this military strategy is also a lot of different methods of organizing governments or taxing the people and improving productivity and so on. So that is one part. On the other hand, there are also a development of scholars, including Confucius or Laozi, etc. There's a whole number of scholars who are experiencing this conflict and seeing this bloodshed. So they want to propose a cultural ideology such that we can minimize this conflict. So on one hand, we have military strategies. On the other hand, we have the philosophical thinking, trying to understand why this system is not working, why people are suffering, why different states are fighting each other. Again, as a reference to the global history, this is also the time, 500 BCE, where Plato, Aristotle, etc. have a lot of output in terms of philosophy. So it seems that both the East and the West at the same time are engaged in deep philosophical reflections in order to solve the problems at hand. In particular, of course, is the rise of the Confucius idea, Confucius rise. Now, Confucius himself lived between this period, and his teachings has profound impact on Chinese thought. Confucianism emphasized on ethics, social harmony, and proper behavior, aiming to address the social and political instability of the time. I will go into a little bit more about the main ideas in these Confucius ideas later on. So at the same time, despite all the political turmoil, the spring and autumn period saw cultural development in areas such as literature, music, art, poetry, in particular, played a significant role in expressing the thoughts and emotions of the people. Now, it should be noted that at this time, all these different states, although they use similar scripts, similar language, but they are not totally compatible. It is very much like Europe made example. They all use a pronunciation-based, alphabet-based language. But each country has a different language. At this spring and autumn period, it is also the same. But typically, in the upper class, because of the Zhao dynasty, they are speaking approximately the same language, maybe with a very strong local accent and so forth. In terms of writing, they typically can read about 80% of different states' scripts, but not totally because they are not standardized. We will come to that a little bit later on. This is also a period of the Chinese tradition, the start of the tradition, to compile historical records. The Chinese historical records are kept in at least three different levels. One level is all the occurring in the imperial courts, that means the central government. They are all carefully recorded, but no interpretation is given. Just record everything happening during in the royal family as well as in the royal court. And then there is another level of recording is on the government regional organization. For example, if divided into province, then each province will have a central record of what happened in that province. And then down there, in different more concentrated populous area, for example, a county or a city, then they also have their own records. So Chinese has been compiling all these historical records. The final writing of the history will be left after the dynasty has gone. So, for example, at the moment, the Chinese historians are writing the history for the Qing dynasty, using all the records from the Qing dynasty. So there is a huge scholastic activity now working on compiling the Qing dynasty. As far as I know, at the moment, the Qing dynasty history has consisted of about 20-something volumes. Each volume is almost a million words. I don't know, but they are working on it. This is just my rough idea. The other thing is the concept of mandate of heaven, or the legal legitimacy of ruler. Why a particular royal family is able to rule over the whole country? Well, because of the mandate of heaven. And therefore we refer to the emperor as the son of the heaven. the Son of Heaven got the mandate that the heaven allowed him to rule over the land. But of course, the mandate of heaven can be withdrawn if the emperor is not behaving properly. So that is the main idea in the philosophical realm, where they are teaching the emperor how you should behave in order to have a long ruling and governing of the whole country. So at that time, when the central Zhao authority is weakened, then a lot of people interpret that the mandate of heaven has been withdrawn. And therefore, different warlords or different states compete to gain that mandate of heaven. And that's why there was a lot of military conflicts between the states. With military conflicts also comes with technological advancement, mainly in terms of different methods of producing stronger metals, improving productivity in the fields, agriculture, and of course military technologies. Then it will transit into the Eastern Zhao dynasty, which is characterized by further decentralization of power and establishment of various warring states. So all these states are now fighting against each other. So let's look at one particular person during that time, Confucius. Confucius is born on 551 BCE on September 28th in the state of Lou, located in today's Gufu in Shandong province. He passed away on 479 BCE. So we have the exact birth and death of Confucius. His most significant work is the history of the spring and autumn period. And another important thing is he is one of the philosophers who actively seek out students. He has his own school of thoughts, and a lot of people study under him. The famous, for example, the dialects, the famous ideas of Confucianism, isn't written by him, it's written by his students. But he himself obviously is able to read and write. He wrote the spring and autumn history of that time. When you write the history, it's different from looking at the records. You try to interpret why this thing happens. So the interpretation itself, he used a technique called small interpretation. That means he doesn't explicitly say whether the action of this particular emperor is good or bad. He evaluates whether the action is good and bad by small words like very good, maybe. This is small adjectives. So reading the Chinese history requires a very good understanding of the Chinese language in this subtle expression of a value. And this is started by Confucius. His teaching evolved around ethical and moral principles, social harmony, and the cultural virtues. Basically, he talked about several ideas. The first one is yuan. In terms of Chinese, this is consists of two parts. One part is on the left side, which represents men. The other part is the Chinese number 2. So this particular word, you will look at the Chinese meaning, is meant how two people can live together in a harmonious way. So the English translation from AI is he emphasizes the importance of compassion, kindness, empathy towards each other. Yuan involves treating others with respect and care, recognizing their humanity, and maintaining harmonious relationships. Now, this is also the current political doctrines of the Chinese government. The Chinese government talk about respecting other countries, interaction with the other countries on a mutually respectful manner, on equal basis. Do not interfere with other people's domestic politics, etc. So this idea also comes from the Confucius school of thinking. The second part is when we people meet each other, we have a proper conduct, proper manner, and rituals. For example, today in the West, we also have the same thing. When we first meet, we will say, how are you? And then some of them will have shake hands, or sometimes will have embrace and so forth. There are a set of conducts which govern how we behave towards each other. The Chinese is very different in terms of these conducts. Now, in meetings, whatever, we don't touch each other. Okay? For example, we have no shake hands. No, this is not Chinese. The Chinese proper way is, can you see that? A fist, and they'll holding the fist like that. Okay. But there is a difference. I forgotten whether man or woman. Okay. If I correctly, if I may be wrong, man holds his fist on the right hand and use the left hand to cover it. For women, it's the other way around. Okay. In Western style, the ladies will do a, what's that? Is that called curtsy? Bend, pick out your dress and then bend your knees. The same thing in China as well. The other thing, of course, is bowing. Okay, you bow, and etc. So there's a whole level of different conduct, manners, etc. And that can become very tedious. Like Confucius is very emphasis on these ritual ideas. Then now we started building up the moral philosophy. The first thing is we start with the central family, your immediate family, and then extend the morals outside. So in the core of the family is your respect to your parents, filial piety, respect to your parents and then your elders. So, for example, I'm the eldest in the family. So my brothers and sisters will have an automatic respect for me just because of my age. Because I'm older. So that is this part of core concept. Now with this core concept, then we expand out a little bit. How do we interact with other people beside your family? Well, that is talk about righteousness or justice. You act in a just and righteous manner towards other people. So that involves doing what is morally right and fair, even when faced with difficult decisions or challenges. In order to do that, we need wisdom. We need all our thinking is guided by our all our actions are guided by our thinking. So the important thing is you have to have a proper thinking, proper wisdom, so that you will behave properly, both in the immediate family and to the outside. So the last two ideas has to be driven by wisdom. How do you cultivate wisdom? Well, cultivate wisdom by continuously learning, observing what happened around you, and learn from everybody else. That's the first part. The second part is self-reflection. Every day you spend some time to think through what happened today and try to learn where I have not done well, where I have done well, and how I behave towards people, etc. Self-reflection. And of course, more important is also pursuit of knowledge. Learn by reading somebody else's teaching. So education and self-improvement is highly valued in Confucius' thinking. With your mind driving your action, the next important value is your integrity and trustworthiness. What you say you will done, you will have to do it. And when you do it, you will do with integrity. You make sure your actions are in good faith. So if we look at this, we start to realize Confucius' idea is starting from the center, looking at yourself, how you behave with your immediate family, and then extend outwards, and then understanding that all your actions are driven by your thinking, and therefore you should learn, you should improve your thinking. But that's not enough. You also need to behave in a way that it is trustworthy. Otherwise, if you say something which you will not keep, then I can't trust you. And therefore, the human relationship would break down. So then you talk about, yes, you have achieved that, you become a gentleman. And it is the purpose of an educated man to become a gentleman or a noble person who has high moral character, virtue, and noble behavior. After that, then we have the government. What is the relationship with the government? And also, in a society, there will be wrongs. How do you treat that? So the last two ideas is royalty. Loyal to your leaders. Because if the leaders has been behaving like what is required in the last virtues, having wisdom, integrity, and justice, and is behaving in a gentleman way, then we should pay respect to the leader, to royal to the leader. So loyalty to one's rulers, leaders, countries is also highly recommended, or patriotism. The last is, what is something have done wrong? Well, this is based on the principle of using yourself as a measuring tape or measuring instrument to judge the actions by others. So in the Western style, then you will say, okay, what you would like to be treated, then you will do the same to other people. So that is active. I want to be treated politely. Therefore, I will politely treat everybody else. Confusion is based on the negative. What you do not wish for yourself, do not do to others. There is a subtle difference between these two rules. The first one, from the West, is called the Golden Rule, and sometimes the Confucius idea is called the Silver Rule. With a Golden Rule, then there's a problem. For example, I like to drink coffee. Then I will treat everybody with coffee, although someone may not like coffee. Because what I like to be done with or to be treated, I treat others. So I don't like, I like coffee, so I ask everybody like coffee and then serve coffee to everybody without considering whether they like coffee or not. That is the Golden Rule. But the Silver Rule says, if somebody serves me tea, which I don't like, then I shouldn't serve tea to other people. So I like coffee, but he may not like coffee, so I don't serve that to somebody else. It's a passive. We'll ask what you like and then serve what they like. So these two also have significant political implications in the modern world. Think about political system. We think democracy, forming a government by election, is the best system. Therefore, we force this system onto different countries. That's the Golden Rule. But you would take the Silver Rule will say, well, the election system fit me, but we recognize that it may not fit you. So we don't force that onto you and let you choose your own system. There is a huge difference between these two concepts. And of course, with these two concepts, also we will have to say, okay, after that, if somebody do me wrong, what should we do? There is a forgiveness. So you look at it, you will notice that it is not religious. The whole idea, there's no God there, non-religious. It is based on ethical and social principles. The aim is to create a harmonious and well-ordered society. Everybody in their right place, behaving correctly, both to his family and to the people outside it. And in terms of the whole government, everybody respect the rules from the government and therefore will build a harmonious society. This idea has been passed down since Confucius. That is about 500 BCE until today. So it lasts almost 3,000 years. Not yet. 2,500 years, a little bit more. But it's still running in Chinese society. Okay, after the spring and autumn period, we come this warring state period. There is continuous political fragmentation, conflict, power struggle, and so forth. The states are engaged in frequent conflicts, forming alliances and breaking alliances, political maneuvering, etc. And this period gives the modern government, at least the leaders in Chinese government, a lot of examples from history. If one country, one state align with other states, the consequence, then we can look at the history, and then these two, why this alliance broke down, we can look at the history, and how this and this form an alliance. For example, this idea is I will attack the surroundings, but I will form friends with the far away. With that means if you have alliance from far away, so you attack your neighbor, then you can ask your alliance to attack the neighbor on the other side, and therefore you can conquer that state very easily. So that's one of the strategy. Chinese have been learning all this through the history. And again, similarly in this period, there's a lot of philosophical ideas. Sorry, let me answer the door first. Sorry, come back now. Okay, next. Of course, during this time, there's a lot of military innovations, including tactics, strategies, technology, and so forth. And there's a proliferation of different statecrafts and diplomacy. So everything is generating a lot of ideas during this relatively short period. Over time, the smaller states is being conquered, and eventually it was unified by the Qing dynasty. Now, this Qing and the last Qing, difference by spelling is, this is Qin. Our last dynasty is Qing, so a little bit different. This is where the first emperor, the Qin Wang, united the country. But it is also one of the most short-lived dynasty. It lasts only 45 years. Very, very short-lived. Basically, after the first emperor died, then the whole country turned into turmoil again. And then, after warring, I think about 50 years, then a new dynasty come up. So this Qing dynasty is very, very short-lived. But it is one of the most important dynasties in the whole Chinese history. So it is from 221 to 206. Not even 40 years. Here is recognized as something 15 years, not even. He is the first emperor. He did several things which have significant impact on the Chinese history. The first thing is centralization of power. No more states having their army, because he understands if we go back to the Zhao dynasty, where we have different relatives holding a land and holding army, then somehow when this particular family, even if it's relatives, becomes stronger, he may overtake the central government. So he abolished all this. Centralized. I am holding the power in my hand, not to let anybody else have any power, especially military power. He holds absolute power. But there is a problem with holding the absolute power in one hand and governing a large area. How do you exercise your power over this huge land? Remember, at that time, we don't have internet. Commands given out has to be on a horseback, running, and then passing on to the next one executing the command. There's time lag and there's distance. And more importantly, different states have different writing system. Slightly, although they're almost the same, but slightly different. Something like the English and the American English. They are similar. You can basically read the same, but they are not exactly the same. With this concept of centralizing everything, he needs another thing. Rule of law. He write the law out explicitly, and then everybody carry the same rule. So as the rule of law spread out, then the whole country rule under one set of rules. And he adopted a very heavy-handed legal system. A small crime will have a huge punishment, very harsh punishment, with a strong authoritarian state, central power. Now this influence in the rest. Even you have central power. You have rules. But you still need administrators to administrate the areas. So the next idea is how do you manage the whole thing? Of course, he is also known as a standard-setting emperor. He standardized writing system. He standardized the currency. He standardized the weights and the measures and the road width and the way to build a house. He even standardizes. Everything is standardized. A chair, okay, this size. A desk, okay, this size. Of course, you have different types of chairs, and then you have different size. You have a house, then only the emperor is able to have the Chinese house is wooden, so we have a pillar, and then we have a beam. We have beam, okay? Two pillar and a beam. And then, in order to support the pin, we have a bracket. This bracket holds the horizontal dimensions. But in order to build up, you may have to have more brackets. So one level bracket, and then second level, third level, etc. The more brackets you use, you'll be able to holding up a larger rooftop. He decided that only I, the emperor, has 9 of these stacks. Everybody else must be less than 9. Common people, one is enough. Richer people, 2. For government office, maybe 7 or 8, depending on the size. He standardized everything. Of course, he is also well known for the Terracotta Army in Xi'an, his capital at the time. Remember, this dynasty only lasts about 20-something years. Okay, very short-lived. How can he make that many life-size clay soldiers? It's still a mystery, but we believe that standardization is a very important part of that ability to build so many, to make so many clay soldiers in that short amount of time. He also unified the War of China. During the warring period, different states started to build a wall to separate one state from the other state. Some of those wars is towards the north, and of course some of them are towards each other. He put in a lot of effort to join all the wars towards the north. That is the beginning of the Great War. So the Great War is not built completely by the first emperor, but he is the one who started connecting all these wars. Again, coming to the important question of sending officials, government representatives to different places, centralize the bureaucracy. He's established a bureaucracy with standardized administrative procedures and ranks. This is, again, standardization of government. In order to unite thinking ideas, he burned a lot of books. We can also say he had a lot of intellectual suppressions because he wanted to standardize the writing. So any books which is not written in his writing system is to be destroyed. And any philosophical thoughts which challenges his legalistic ideology is also suppressed. But of course, many of these works survive to today through different channels. But we know that at that time he really burned a lot of books and suppressed intellectual variations. He also started a construction process. From last time we know that the rivers in China basically flows from the west to the east coast. So all the rivers are flowing parallel. Rivers is a good mechanism of huge amount of heavy goods transportation. With river flowing from west to east, how about connecting north and south? In terms of climate, south is a much warmer or hotter climate where crops has much better production, more sunlight than the north. And therefore, if we want to keep the army in the north, in the central area, we need food flowing towards that center to feeding the army. So he started building the canals. The Great Canals also started at that time by Wang, by the first emperor, and then eventually continuously updated by the other emperors throughout the complete Chinese history. So the Great Wall, the Great Canal, the standardization of writing, and a bureaucratic government all started by the first emperor in his very short period controlling the whole China. Tight control, we talk about that. Short duration, because he has been implementing all these ideas too quickly. Therefore, it is unstable, and therefore there's a lot of social unrest. Moving a lot of people, making the terracotta army. Moving a lot of people to connecting the Great Wall. Moving a lot of people to dug the canal. The people are exhausted, and therefore he isn't a very favorable emperor. People doesn't like him. That contributes to the downfall of the dynasty. And by the way, he has a son who is what should I say? Not educated, not he definitely can read, etc., but not very good philosophical understanding. Like to spend a lot of money, like to have a lot of women, etc. So after he died, basically his son cannot keep the dynasty, and then the dynasty is gone. Now here is an example of the canal constructed by Wang, the first emperor. It connects the Pearl River to the Yangtze River, 33 kilometers long. And today this canal is still in use. Here are some of the pictures from or photographs from this canal today. The water there is the water of the canal. He also started this imperial examination system. The formal start is in the Qing dynasty immediately after it. But he started with this idea. Is that how can I get the people I want to govern these large landmasses in the feudal system? Hey, my relatives, my brothers, my sisters, my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, etc., or my uncle's brother, etc., cousins, etc. These are the feudal system. First emperor said, no, we can't trust them. They can be like every other, just like me. I go strong and then I conquer everybody else, and the Zhao dynasty is gone. So no, we can't do that. We will use recommendation system to select good people to rule. Recommendation system has its own flaw, which is obvious very quickly. Being official, that means you govern the whole area. Almost all officials are corrupt, and therefore being an official is a very good job. Everybody wants to be an official. So if my uncle is an official, then I will ask my uncle to recommend me to be an official at other place, no matter how I am. First emperor immediately noticed, wow, there's a lot of officials which are not of the kind of quality he wanted. So he started, okay, all officials need to be able to read and write at a minimum. Otherwise, how can my order, my command be distributed through? So I will write the command and send it out. So all officials have to be able to read and write. So we get the people together, give them questions, and let them answer in writing. That is the examination system, the imperial examination system, which started officially in about 600 CE, quite a number of years after the first emperor. It evolves from the recommendation system into the imperial examination system. Once you have this imperial examination system, the obvious question is, what is the syllabus? What are being tested? The imperial examination system is a way to select officials. Okay. It has a profound impact on Chinese culture, and it is one of the contributing factors for the longevity of Chinese civilizations. So it promotes meritocracy. We have an examination system which promotes good thinking, good ability to write, and then the syllabus is Confucianism, because Confucianism will help a country to organize in a harmonious way. This is exactly what rulers want to do. If the country is everybody is respecting each other, everybody is having his own place in the society, the society develops, and there is no conflict, easy ruling. So Confucianism is the syllabus for 2,000 years for all the imperial examinations. Is basically Confucianism plus or minus a little bit variation with different emphasis at the time, but the main idea is Confucius. That provides stability and continuity. So even when the Chinese emperor is conquered by an external force, for example, the Mongols. The Mongols come in and look at China. This is huge. How can we rule that? There is a government already existing. This government is not blood related to the emperor. They are just officials, administrators. They can use them. But this government is using Chinese. So if you want to make commands to the whole country, the easiest way is to translate your command into Chinese and send it through the existing message system throughout the country. There is a help in continuation of this Chinese culture. The emphasis on education. Again, because we have a public examination. So if you come from a poor family, the best way to get out from poverty is to have a child successful in the imperial examination. Then you become an official, and suddenly your whole family get out from poverty. And therefore, with this 2,000 years tradition, Chinese is very keen on make sure our kids got a good education, because that is the sure way to get out of poverty. From what we learned from the Confucius idea, we are talking about a harmonious society. We respect diversity, but we also respect living together harmoniously. This also promotes professionalism, because the administrators are now selected by examination and they are promoted by performance at the level. It provides, the imperial system provides a social mobility method. And because all the examination systems is based on the Confucius text, therefore it provides a basic text for every school in China to teach, to learn. Everybody uses the same text. And of course, this also linked to the longevity of the whole philosophical system. So the imperial systems foster stability, cultural continuity, social mobility in the Chinese society. Its impact on education, governance, cultural values, all combine to contribute to the longevity of the Chinese civilization by helping to maintain order, promote intellectual development, provide a cohesive framework for social and political interactions over the centuries. Okay, let's look at the Chinese writing system. It is standardized by the first emperor. And then, for any writing, we need a medium to record the writing. Chinese record the writing on paper, which is invented in about 200 BCE. So, before that, Chinese writing is on bamboo strips and then moved to paper. The invention of paper obviously revolutionized both communication, education, and culture. Because now we have a stable replica of what is to be learned across time and across distance. Both of them is stable. We don't have to depend on oral tradition. Chinese does not depend on oral tradition as early as about 200 before current era. Then by about the Tang Dynasty, we have printing. And then by about Song Dynasty, we have moving type printing. So before that, we have the wood block printing. The characters are carved on a piece of wood, and then the wood is covered with some ink. A piece of paper is put on top of it, and then a roller over it to make an impression. So that is the wood block printing. Currently, the largest wood block printing archaeological site is in Korea. And it has some of the Buddhist books there. So the first, obviously, this about printing. First application is religious texts. When Buddhism comes into China. But we will talk about religion a little bit later on. Then we have the moving type. The good thing is every Chinese characters occupy the same space. So it is a square block. And therefore we can make square blocks and then put square blocks together and forming the message. So moving type is invented pretty early. So let's look at the factors making the Chinese civilization the oldest. A continuous reinforcing of the cultural identity through standardized language, empirical examination, which again provide a longevity of a philosophical ideology. Technically, we have the technology to continuously provide a steady, unchanged copy of the ideas, passing from one generation to the next generation. It doesn't have to depend on oral tradition. It depends on oral tradition. Every retold story will be interpreted and will change slightly from the last one. But when you have printing, the text keeps stable and then you can last for a very long time. Of course, sometime later on when you redo the wood block, you may make some mistakes and then therefore there will be variations along the line. But when that is much more stable than a pure oral method of transmitting the knowledge. Again, the government itself, a meritocratic government, and therefore even when we have conquerors, the conquerors are forced to use the existing structure. That means accepting the Chinese culture. From the very beginning, the Chinese culture has been always multi-ethnical. Remember going back to the spring and autumn time or the warring period. We have different states. Actually, at that time, every state represents an ethnic group. Here is the Qing ethnic group, here is the Chou ethnic group, etc. There's many different ethnic groups. But when he's unified everybody else, the government itself consists of multiple ethnic groups. So the multi-ethnic group tradition has been at least 2,000 or more years long. Finally, let's look at the last factor, is the impact of religion. Notice the main ideology, Confucianism, has no God there. And there's even no mandate of heaven in that idea. It's only looking at the relationship between people. There's no superstructure. which say, oh, the God want you to do this and this and this. No, there's no such thing in Chinese tradition. No God. Yes, Chinese people can be superstitious. Worship of ancestor. Wanting your dead grandparents to give you good luck. That's okay. But there's no God. You are worshipping your ancestors. We have ancestor worship. Yes. We have all the story about ghosts, about angels, etc. But we treat it as stories. There are fables we can learn from the story behind all these interaction between different gods and so forth. But religion do come into China. Buddhism comes into China during the Tang Dynasty. So during that time, the religions becomes more and more powerful. The emperor need to balance the force between them. So they would develop other ideology to compete with whatever religion coming into China. This is due to the political need of balancing the power that doesn't allow any religion to have more power than the central government. So this is quite different from Europe, for example, where Rome or the Pope has a huge power over different countries. Not that in China. China doesn't have this. Because the central government understands if a fraction of a small fraction of the population gain too much power, it will lose the power. The power has to be controlled in the central government. Nowhere else. So when there is another ideology coming up, the best way to do it is not by a pure suppression, it's by a competition. Another idea coming in and compete with it and balance out the power. Of course, during the competition, you may apply violence to suppress where it's too strong on those sides, except. These are political tactics. But the main idea is the central government will not allow a very strong regional power to challenge the central power. The same thing happens today in modern China as well. That's why the People's Republic of China has mandated that there's only one ruling party. That is the Communist Party of China, CPC. Because we understand if you have more than one power centers, then the fight between the two power centers will lead into the warring state or the spring and autumn period where it's chaos, fighting each other. And again, we don't allow a particular ideology, which is not the central government, to go up. So in China, you can have religion, but the religion has to operate under the CPC. So if you want to assign a particular religion leaders, for example, a bishop, then although the assignment of bishop in the Catholic, in the Roman Catholic religion, then you have to get the permission of the Chinese government that this person can take the role of bishop. Otherwise, the government will consider you as a illegal religion. Because everybody power has to be centralized. But once you have a centralized government, the next thing is how can you make sure the whole society is harmonious? Confucius ideas come in. And this has been lasting for the last 2,000 years. And I expect it to last even longer. Maybe at least another 300 years. Okay, that is all I have prepared today. And then I will stop the share. Okay, questions? Anyone? Unmute yourself first. You want to ask a question.
How do you think they managed to make the warriors in that time period?
Well, at that time period, I think approximately 1 in 10 of the men in the country are soldiers during the warring period. A huge percentage of people are engaged in military conflict. And therefore, it has a huge impact on the productivity of the country. How can you feed that people? Remember, at those times, the agriculture productivity is 99 to 100. That means 99 people working in the field to feed 100 people. But you have to improve that. You have 10% of these people take off from the agricultural road into a defensive or military role. You need to improve the agricultural productivity. Now, look at today. Chinese has about 7% of the world's arable agricultural land. But China is almost self-sufficient in food. That means 7% of the land is able to support about 20% of the world population. So on average, Chinese agriculture is 3 times more productive than the average. It has always been the case, and therefore we have some very labor intensive agricultural techniques like the terraces, rice field on the mountainside, leveling up the whole mountain. That is a huge amount of labor to do that. But we need to do that because, as we have looked at last time, the Hu line. All the arable land on the east of the Hu line. Therefore, the only way is to improve productivity on the agriculture. Okay, any other? Sorry.
Is that how did they have people enough to build all those terracotta warriors?
Good question, and that's why the Qing dynasty is so short-lived. It is exhausted. The people are exhausted. And therefore, immediately after his death, is a big revolt. Because people are exhausted.
It's Roy Olive here.
Yeah.
Do you think AI will be a threat to the culture of the Chinese long term?
No. My short answer is no. Let me explain. The AI is used very differently between China and the rest. For example, the AI here we are talking about is using the large language model, to allow AI to write papers, to understand our speech, etc. The Chinese application of AI is in industry, robotics. A totally different area. For example, a self-driving car. In China, we have city models in Shenzhen, Beijing, Shanghai. What do we mean by that? That means in these cities, you can ask for a taxi with no driver. The taxi is autonomous. It knows where to, you tell when you book the taxi, You tell them where you want to go to. You don't need to tell them where you are because your app will know where you are. So you just call a taxi saying where do I want to go. Then a driverless taxi will come to you. You scan on the side of the taxi to make sure this is the one you want, and then you get in. The taxi get you there, and then the fee is deducted automatically on your app. This is happening. It's called the L5 level of self-driving. But that depends on different cities, so they need city models. Shenzhen, the city next to Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Beijing, Shanghai, at least these three cities already have this self-driving taxi. Just imagine when this self-driving taxis becomes even more, then suddenly taxi driver as a career gone. But in terms of culture, culture is transmitted between humans. It's not transmitted through technology. Yes, technology helps, but the culture is between people. AI development, I don't see that in the short term. Maybe I feel 100 years later, I don't know, but at the moment I don't see that impact on the Chinese culture. Anyone else? No?
There's a question on chat.
Oh, there's a question on chat. Thank you. Let me have a look. How much is documented of Chinese having contact with Judaism? I don't think Judaism arrived in China. The first large religion coming from outside of China is Buddhism in the Tang Dynasty. And then, of course, at that time, our Xinjiang region also exposed to the Muslim ideas. So we have a minority groups. They are all Muslims. But no, I don't think Judaism doesn't come into China. Yes, we have Jews coming into China, and then the Jews themselves fall into a pocket where they believe in Judaism. That's true, but in terms of large scale, the first one coming into China is Buddhism, and then later on Christianity coming in from Marco Polo, and then the Muslim coming in because of close contact with through the Silk Road, through the Middle East, the Arabic. So these ideas coming in maybe 500 years ago to about 600 years ago.
Albert, how do you see China's current economic position? There seems to be a significant amount of concern around the world at the moment about their economic position and how serious it might be. Where do you see that heading?
I think in the first half of 2023, the growth rate of China is about 5.5%. It has significantly slowed down in the second quarter, but it's still growing at 5.5%. And I think by the end of the year, China may be growing at 5% over the whole year, or even a little bit less. That means we will see some slowing down in the third and fourth quarter. But in terms of import and export, China's import and export still grows at about 3%, depending on categories. The new energy vehicles category is growing very, very fast. China will become the world's largest exporter of cars in 2023. It has already overtook Japan in the first quarter already. And the main growth is on these new energy vehicles. In July last month, the new energy vehicle market in China grows by about 30%, 30%. So, yes, depends on different pockets. There are growth in some pockets, there are growth not in other pockets. In terms of overall world trade, I think it will be slowing down given Europe is de-industrializing. The Europe is have to deal with high energy costs, so that their industry will slow down and move to somewhere else. The U.S. government is suffering from huge debts. So I will be looking very carefully in the next few days about the BRICS meeting in South Africa. See whether they have any economic policy coming. Sorry? Yeah, I think the meeting in South Africa in coming days are very important in terms of global financial arrangements. That's my reading. It might be wrong. Don't base my reading on for your investment. Okay? I'm very poor in investment, so don't trust me.
Property sector in China, though, is standing on a knife edge. It has been for some years.
Well, I agree. For example, the real estate. Now, the real estate is China try to plug the bubbles slowly. not because the largest property developer is basically bankrupt. It doesn't have
that's Evergrande.
Yeah. It doesn't have sufficient cash flow. But the Chinese government doesn't allow it to die. Still popping up because the theory is that house is for living, it's not for investment. So we will be seeing some drastic tax laws coming out. You will be taxed very lightly for your first property. But the gap between the first and the second, in terms of tax, will be huge. And then you will be even bigger from your second to the third, and so on. The Chinese government wants to tax away the investment in real estate and make real estate a commodity for living, not for investment. So that sector will see a lot of turmoils, and then we'll see of course you are popping up all the bubbles, so it will shrink in size, obviously.
It's not just Evergrande, of course. There's another one.
There's
Evergrande that's
the whole real estate. The whole real estate is serious. But the Chinese government is poking the bubbles slowly. What? So don't expect. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay.
In chat again.
Okay. In the optics of AI, I do think there will be a move towards making accessible to ChatGPT, incorporating database outside Western published database. Yes, Chinese are doing that. You do something, I also do something. You copy me and I copy you. So yes, there are efforts in China replicating everything else in the rest of the world. I think intellectual property should be like that. You invent something, based on your invention, stand on your shoulders and go on, and then everybody. So yes, the Chinese language model actually is much more simpler in terms of mathematics behind it. That's another long story. Maybe I will make a talk on this one next year. Why I believe the Chinese language model is easier than the English language model. Okay. If no more questions, then we'll finish today earlier. And then next week will be quite political because I will talk about the situation of Taiwan in this whole context of the Chinese cultural longevity. This is where CPC, the Chinese Communist Party of China, will get its legitimacy. If they cannot unify China, they are basically not withholding the Chinese culture, and that is a great impact on them. Okay, we'll talk about that.
Before you go, Albert,
yes.
There's a news flash coming across. Australia, US, Japan plan joint Navy drills in the South China Sea.
Yeah.
How do you reckon that's going to go?
US having military drills with Asian countries, Japan, South Korea, etc. is regular news. I don't expect any explosive.
China's not going to like that.
Of course not. Of course. Now, who likes people coming to your door and then burning firecrackers every day?
Yeah, fair enough.
Nobody likes it, right? And then Americans going thousands of miles in the front yard of China and making all these crackers. Nobody likes it. But what can you do?
It'll be fun.
You will just say, you will have politicians, diplomatically say, don't come here. But they still come. Okay.
Good.
Okay, see you next week, same time.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.